the design choice that you might regret in 5 years?
Um, I would say following trends too closely and not designing for your own personal style.
I can see that. I can see that as I go and look at houses every single day. Welcome to the Bamford and Co podcast, Beyond the Keys. I'm here with my friend Sheena from Bella Vista Developments. Thanks for coming on to the show once again.
Thanks for having me.
Can you give me a little bit of a breakdown on Bella Vista?
Yeah, we are a design build firm in Saskatoon, and we focus on custom home building and large scale renovations.
Awesome. So we're having a conversation before we started today, and the one thing that we were talking about is, where do you start? Do you start with the lot or do you start with the design? I guess I jumped a lot of different things, but that's kind of where we got to, right?
It's kind of a chicken and egg question. Ultimately, it starts with finding your design build team, first
Right.
of all, that can help you through those decisions. It's going to come down to a lot of things: budget, and what you want, and then sort of marrying those two things together to make sure that the lot that you choose is going to allow you to build what you're looking for, um, and that it all works within the budget.
That makes a lot of sense to me. I actually learned just from this conversation, because I would have said we started with the lot, but it does make sense that you kind of tie your hands once you've bought that lot, depending on how wide the lot is or how much depth it is and what you want for landscaping in the back. That then all depends. So then you can start understanding what kind of size of lot you need, and then see if that's at all even possible for what your design is, right? Or if you have to go to an acreage or so forth. Because some of these new neighborhoods, you can't build a property on the same way you could in, I mean, different neighborhoods like Willow Grove, Stonebridge, some of the older neighborhoods, right?
Yeah.
Brighton and Aspen Ridge, those lots are getting tighter, right?
Yeah.
So, but a lot of what you guys do is more custom and luxury homes, I would say, at least from my point of view on it, right? So the design is a large part of where that goes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so when someone goes to meet with you to do that design work, where do you start?
We start with a lifestyle questionnaire. So we want to learn how they use their home now, what habits they have, how many cooks are in the kitchen at one time. Does somebody get up earlier than the other partner to get ready in the morning? All of those things. Um, and what pinch points they have in their current home, and that
Right.
kind of can help formulate what they're looking for and what will be beneficial in the new house.
Yeah. It's actually it's an interesting approach, because I find that a lot of people sometimes do it the opposite, right? They start grabbing stuff off Pinterest or
Yeah,
something off another design, and they look at it that way rather than what you're saying. It's just
yeah,
finding out what makes them tick.
yeah. And what we hear sometimes is just like, if we come up with a floor plan design and it's you took, I don't know how you got it out of our brains, what we were looking for, and put it on paper, because we didn't tell you this, but we learn about it through how they move about their home on a daily basis, and can say, okay, well, we think this would work really nice for them.
So how'd you build out the process? Like, how did you even start with thinking that's where it's at? Because I know with real estate, I mean, I've learned a lot through my career, and I find different processes work for me now, but I would have never even thought of them when I first started. So what led you
Mm,
to doing the design side? Is that
I
education, or is that like
I
experience, or
I think just both. Just the experience over the years, and just seeing people. Everyone's busier. Everyone has, you know, our lives are just busier. So our homes really need to function for us in a way that brings us comfort and joy and things that you didn't really consider before.
right? Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So I mean, that it seems like it more customized to what that person's needing and so
Yeah.
forth. If I'm just going to kind of jump onto here and look at, oh, logged out. So when we're highlighting some things, So you just said, where do you start? And that's the design side.
Hmm.
Luxury means different things for different people. And how do you then figure out their price point of what they're in? Because I mean, we were talking about this earlier with my brother right now, and if you look at it, everybody doesn't understand prices most of the time,
Yeah.
and they usually have their eyes are bigger than probably what they'd like.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that their eyes are big; it's just that people don't understand those costs, right?
Yeah. And they've changed so much, especially over the last few years,
Right,
that it's, hard to catch up with what the new reality is.
right. And so then where do you then how do you help them figure out that price point? Because like the lot does, like we
Yeah.
were talked about before, the lot does make a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Because on that price point, that lot, like if you're
Yeah.
looking at something, like we're going to be talking about some of the properties that you're building right now,
Yeah.
those are in established neighborhoods and have a new opportunity for those people to figure it in.
Hmm.
The cost to be able to find an older property and then tear it down, there's some extra costs that go with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's why it's important to look at it holistically, because if you're not, you're missing the mark. There's also things like landscaping that you have to tie in, furnishing, um, all of those pieces need to kind of be brought together in the
Right.
budget, and looking at that holistically, to make sure that what you want is feasible.
I was actually having this conversation with a client I was just showing out in Edgemont today, and it's interesting because landscaping is something that nobody really takes into consideration and
Yeah.
has no idea on pricing and so forth. We have Dutch growers coming on to the podcast later, and hopefully we can understand a little bit more on what those costs are, because landscaping is one of those things. And then furniture. So
Yeah.
you build a nice home or a luxury home, and then you don't realize, like, okay, now to meet the same standard to be able to do it, it's going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
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 So it's good on that. So there's a couple properties. Let's hit on some of the properties that you're building right now and that we're going to be bringing to market. So we've got 1121 13th Street East coming
Yeah.
to market here, I think, in a couple days. And as we shoot this, I guess it'll be already out. But what was your thoughts when you came from the design side on that? Because it's unique, but it's luxurious, and it looks really different than what I've seen coming out from other builders and so forth lately.
Yeah, so we were really focused on sort of a warm sophistication. That was the feeling. I always talk a lot about what feeling you want your home to have, and that's what we were shooting for with this one. High quality materials. Again, I'm also a firm believer in using quality materials or natural stone, using products like that more intentionally, instead of maybe an abundance of something, just using
Right.
it more thoughtfully, to make sure we have that incorporated. And then I was thinking about the people who might buy this home, busy professionals. I talk a lot about clutter in your house equals clutter in your mind. And, when you're a busy professional or you're a busy family, you need a space for everything. So there is a ton of storage in that house. There's storage at the front entry, the back entry. The kitchen is huge. We've got a nice walk-in
Yeah, I love the
pantry.
kitchen. Like the kitchen is amazing, and
Yeah.
it really is the heart of that house,
Yeah.
at least from the design point that
Yeah.
I can see. And I mean, we're going to be able to show some pictures here of like what it looks like. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's a showstopper, and I think it'll be something that I can't wait to it being finished to
Yeah.
take in.
Yeah.
I do
I'm
also
excited.
love the covered deck.
Yes, extending that living space outdoors. So we did oversized patio doors, and then a large covered area will have privacy screens, so it just really feels like your own little space back there.
Yeah, and it's located in Varsity View, so I mean you've got a lot of trees in the neighborhood
Yeah.
and so forth, and it's on a larger lot, right? So yeah, it's going really good on that. So we've just highlighted 13th Street, and so there's another property that you're building right now, and that is going to be on 314 Lake Crescent.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yes, it is exciting.
That's located on an 80-foot by 140 property,
Yes.
right on the bend there. And what is your favorite design part of that home? And I know that makes it hard to
Yeah.
do, but
I think just having that 80-foot frontage, being able to have an attached garage on the front, an oversized attached garage on the front is amazing. But I think what we've done with the design of the house, it's a little bit mid-century, a little bit 70s modern. But I think when you come around the corner and see it, you'll almost do a double take, wondering, is that a new build or has that been here all along?
Right.
And which I think is really cool in established neighborhoods.
And what was your thoughts when, because you've got, I mean, not only is that a showstopper kitchen, I mean, that's probably got one of the biggest walk-in closets I think I've ever seen on that property. And then you also have an elevator.
Yes. Yeah. So we're seeing a lot of people thinking ahead, aging in place, and looking to the future and what those needs might be. And people are looking more at hiring care in their home should they need that down the road. So to have a 2-story, an elevator becomes sort of a necessity.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we have, like, if you look at the demographics right now that of people coming into the property, bungalows are so in high demand because everybody wants to be able to live on one floor. And the only reason is the mobility issue, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have that elevator, then I guess that gets taken out and you don't need to really downsize as you get older. Or at the same time, I mean, they're also fun to go up and down on.
Exactly.
Like, kids are like, how do you make it so the kids don't keep on going up and down on it?
There is a lock feature, I believe.
Is there? Okay, because I mean, I'm just thinking about, like, me and my brothers, and I'm thinking, like, how often we would, like, be going up and down on it, or lock the dog in there or something, right? That just kind of
Exactly.
that's exactly what I would see. So there's some other questions that I was wanting to ask you, and what would you say on this one? The design choice that you might regret in 5 years?
I would say following trends too closely and not designing for your own personal style.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that as I go and look at houses every single day.
Yeah.
Right? You see, like, a certain tile that's very specific to that what's in.
Yeah.
And everybody uses the same thing.
And you can pinpoint the exact year the house was built just based on,
Yeah, Briarwood is peach
trends.
and peach and cream.
Yes.
Right? As you go through different neighborhoods, you've got, like, usually now here's your darker grays, and that makes sense. On another one is, what's a tiny detail that you think would make a huge difference in a custom home?
I think it comes all the way back to, like, floor plan design and construction plan design. It doesn't sound very, I don't know what the right word is, fancy, I guess, but sight lines, even just thinking about looking, so the windows, if you're on an acreage, how the house is placed so that you're gaining the best sight lines and sunlight. And then also in the house, so every hallway, every door opening, you're thinking about sight lines. And it's one of those things that homeowners don't often think about, but when we're designing, we're thinking about those things all the time.
This is why you need to hire Sheena. It would be a great idea. I was showing properties yesterday, and just on that, I was just visualizing our experience yesterday, and 3 of the 4 properties were duds. Maybe that's a bad way to say it, but at the same time, they weren't as desirable. And then when we were going through this one property, as soon as we walked in, it was backing the protected grasslands on Aspen Ridge. So they've got all the protected or Ducks Unlimited lands, right? And you walked in, and immediately you just saw the view, right? And so that was something that was welcoming. And then you started seeing the rest of the finishings. But the highlight of that property, as it being a walkout, was actually the view. So so I guess that's maybe what you're saying, the sight lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So good thing to keep in mind, because sometimes when we're looking at developing stuff, you look at the like, so when we look at working with, like, especially spec builds, we're looking at the 3 major things that we look at is kitchens, en-suites, and then bedroom sizes. Those 3 usually, if you can meet those 3, then you're specifically looking at, I mean, different square footage in homes, but those are the main things that 3 people are continually looking at. Yeah. But on your side, it's like, after you've met those, it's what else can you do to...
Yeah. and those are considered sort of our baseline. So it's
Right.
really is those things above and beyond that.
You've
that we're
already
looking
figured that
at.
out. A lot of builders haven't figured that out, right? But as these houses get smaller and smaller, where they usually do it is they build this huge primary suite with a massive walk-in closet and a big ensuite bathroom, and then they've got these tiny second and third bedrooms, which would basically only be able to fit a single bed.
Yeah.
And so I find that when families go into them, it really steers people away, and then they'll go look at other properties, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I've got some other questions here for you. Which one feature in the home that's totally overrated? I would say I didn't make up this question. It was given to me by my team, so I'm not going to blame anybody.
Is this like unpopular design opinions?
It could be, yeah.
Okay, I would say I am not a fan of wet rooms. I know they're very popular. They're having a real moment right now, but I love
A wet room. What is a wet room?
it's when your shower and your tub and everything is very open concept.
Oh.
It's sort of just a glass wall,
Right.
walk in and out. But they don't capture the heat, and it's just not, I don't find it to be a very nice shower experience.
It's interesting because with the same client that I was looking at this morning, we were in another show home, and it had the what is it? The transition, so you don't have a step
Like a
into
curbless.
a curbless.
Yeah.
And he said that the house that he previously built, custom built, they didn't
Yeah.
have a door on theirs.
Yeah.
And he said what happened is like all the water used to just like kind of
Yeah.
come out, and it wasn't the design that they were hoping for.
Yeah.
Visually it was there,
Yes.
but the functionality of the design wasn't,
Yeah.
right? And so I guess that makes a great point of just like design is awesome, but if it doesn't function properly, it's like a really beautiful couch that's horrible to sit on, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
another one I got for you. So what affordable upgrade that makes a home instantly feel more luxurious?
I would say statement lighting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So give an example of that.
I just like a beautiful chandelier or really nice pendants over the island. They just have such a visual impact. So even if you're thinking about renovating, or if you wanted to just do something to elevate your own space,
Right.
outside of building custom, that's something that you could upgrade. That would make a huge difference.
And is that something that you can help them with? Like, so would they come to you and say, these are the things that I want to do to my house? Or is there like, would you ever, someone come to you and say, hey, I want to spend this kind of money. What would you do to my property?
If we were looking at a whole project, we certainly would.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But not the smaller design stuff.
Not the smaller design stuff,
Okay,
yeah.
so if you want to work with Sheena and Bella Vista Developments, we need to do big things and luxurious homes. But so I want to thank you for coming on the
Yes,
podcast.
thank you so much.
Once again, I look forward to listing those properties for you and getting them sold.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to follow us on the podcast, follow us on YouTube and also on Spotify. Thanks, Sheena.
Thank you.